The morning sun streamed through the window of the Daily Grind, my favorite cafe. My name is Ilara, and my world usually revolves around two things, ballet and cappuccino. I held the warm ceramic mug in my hands, its heat a familiar comfort. The rich aroma of espresso and steamed milk filled the air, a perfect cloud of happiness. I took a slow sip, the foamy milk mustache a small price to pay for this moment of pure bliss. This was my ritual, the calm before the storm of pirouettes and plies at the dance studio. The city of Luminara was waking up, its streets humming with the gentle rhythm of a normal day, a symphony I knew by heart. I watched the people outside, each on their own journey. A businessman rushed by talking on his phone. A mother pushed a stroller, laughing with her child. It was all so beautifully ordinary. I loved this city, every brick and every lamppost. My life was a dance, a carefully choreographed routine of practice, performance, and the perfect cup of coffee. I felt a sense of peace settle over me, thinking about the new choreography I was learning. It was challenging, full of powerful leaps and delicate turns, a story told without words. This cappuccino was my fuel, my inspiration, my little piece of heaven before I stepped onto the stage of my life. Suddenly, a tremor shook the entire cafe. It wasn't an earthquake, it was deeper, more guttural. My cappuccino sloshed over the rim of the mug, the beautiful foam art ruined. Outside, a collective gasp turned into a wave of screams. People started running, their faces masks of terror. The gentle morning rhythm was shattered, replaced by a chaotic beat of fear. My heart pounded in my chest, a frantic drum solo against my ribs. The ordinary world I cherished was being torn apart right before my eyes, and I couldn't just sit here and watch it happen. Something was terribly, monstrously wrong with my city. I rushed to the window, my dancer's instincts on high alert. Down the street, a creature made of shadow and jagged stone was tearing up the pavement. It was huge, grotesque, something ripped from a nightmare. Its roar was a physical force, rattling the glass and my bones. This wasn't a movie, this wasn't a dream, this was real. My city, my home, was under attack by monsters. All thoughts of ballet practice vanished. My peaceful morning, my perfect cappuccino, it all felt like a distant memory from another lifetime. A new purpose began to form in my mind, as sharp and clear as a spotlight on a dark stage. I knew I couldn't just stand by. My years of ballet training weren't just for the stage. They had given me strength, agility, and an unbreakable discipline. My body was a weapon, honed through countless hours of sweat and determination. I had to do something. I had to help. The decision was instant, a reflex born from a love for my city. I left the cafe, my heart a mix of fear and resolve. The streets were chaos, a terrifying ballet of panic. But I moved through it with a dancer's grace, my mind focused. I wasn't just Ilara the ballerina anymore. I was a protector, and my stage was now the entire city of Luminara. I needed to find a way to fight back, but how? As I navigated the panicked crowds, I saw him. A figure cloaked in dark leather, moving against the flow of people. He was calm, focused, and carried an arsenal of strange glowing weapons. He moved with a deadly precision, a stark contrast to my fluid grace. People whispered his name as he passed, the Assassino. He was a legend, a myth, a hunter of things that go bump in the night. They said he was the only one who could fight these creatures. He was my only hope, our city's only hope. I knew with a certainty that surprised me that I had to team up with him. I ran towards him, my ballet slippers surprisingly quiet on the debris-strewn pavement. "Assassino!" I called out. He stopped and turned, his eyes sharp and analytical, taking in my tutu and dance-ready posture. He looked skeptical, unimpressed. "This is no place for a dancer," he said, his voice low and gravelly, like stones grinding together. "You should be running with the others." His dismissal only strengthened my resolve. I wasn't going to be brushed aside. This was my city too, and I was not going to let him or any monster tell me where I belonged. He was about to learn that a ballerina was much more than she seemed. "A dancer sees the rhythm in chaos," I replied, my voice steady despite the trembling in my hands. "I am strong, I am fast. I know this city better than anyone. You have the weapons, but I have the footwork. We can't win alone." I stood my ground, meeting his intense gaze without flinching. For a long moment, he just stared at me, his expression unreadable. Then, a shadow monster lunged from a nearby alley. Before he could even raise a weapon, I leaped, spun, and landed a powerful kick to its side, sending it stumbling back. The Assassino's eyes widened in surprise. "Okay, ballerina," he said, a hint of a smile on his lips. "Let's dance." Our partnership began in that chaotic street. It was a strange and beautiful collaboration. The Assassino was all power and direct force. He would charge in, his glowing blades a whirlwind of energy, striking down the lumbering stone monsters with brute strength. He was the thunder, but I was the lightning. I moved around the battlefield like it was a stage, using my agility to distract and disorient our enemies. I would leap onto a monster's back, forcing it to turn, giving the assassino the perfect opening for a clean strike. We were a symphony of destruction, a strange but effective duet. He taught me how to use some of his smaller, lighter weapons. I found that a pair of glowing daggers felt like extensions of my own arms, perfect for quick, precise jabs. In return, I taught him about movement and balance. Think of it as a pas de deux, I explained during a brief lull in the fighting. I lead, you follow my cue. When I spin left, you strike right. He was a quick study, his fighter's instincts adapting to my dancer's rhythm. We learned to anticipate each other's moves, communicating with a glance or a subtle shift in weight. We were no longer just a fighter and a dancer, we were a team. The challenges grew as we fought our way toward the city center, where the largest of the creatures resided. We faced flying beasts with leathery wings and smaller, faster creatures that swarmed us from the shadows. During one intense fight, my leg was pinned by falling rubble. I couldn't move. A massive beast loomed over me, ready to strike. But the assassino was there. He threw himself in front of me, his body a shield, taking the blow on his reinforced armor. He grunted in pain but held his ground, giving me the precious seconds I needed to free myself. In that moment, I knew our bond was more than just a temporary alliance. "Are you okay?" I asked, my voice filled with concern as I helped him to his feet. He just nodded, wincing slightly. "You saved me," I said, my heart full of gratitude. "We save each other," he replied, his gaze softening for a fraction of a second. "That's what partners do." A new understanding passed between us, an unspoken promise of trust and friendship forged in the heat of battle. We were learning to rely on each other, to protect each other. We were becoming friends, and that friendship was making us an even more formidable force against the darkness threatening to consume our home. The final battle took place in the Grand Plaza, the heart of Luminara. A colossal monster, the source of the invasion, stood there, its roars shaking the very foundations of the city. It was a terrifying sight, a mountain of rage and shadow. Fear tried to grip me, but I looked at the assassino and he looked at me. We didn't need words. We had a plan, a final grand performance. This was our finale, and we were not going to miss a single step. The fate of our city rested on this one last dance, this one last fight. We charged forward together, ready to face the music. He drew its attention, a frontal assault with all the power he could muster. His blades crashed against the monster's stony hide, creating a shower of sparks. It was the perfect diversion. Using the chaos as my cover, I ran up the side of a tilted statue, using it as a launch pad. I soared through the air in a grand jeté, higher than I had ever leapt before. For a moment I was flying. I landed silently on the monster's massive shoulder, my daggers ready. It barely felt my weight, but it was about to feel my sting. The assassino saw me in position and gave a subtle nod. It was time for our finishing move. I plunged the glowing daggers into a weak spot at the base of the monster's neck, a spot the assassino had pointed out earlier. It roared in pain and fury, thrashing wildly. I held on, my dancer's core strength keeping me anchored. The distraction was all the assassino needed. With a powerful cry, he lunged forward and thrust his largest energy sword deep into the creature's chest. There was a blinding flash of light, a deafening sound, and then silence. The colossal monster crumbled into dust, and with it, all the smaller creatures across the city dissolved into nothingness. We had done it. The city was safe. Exhausted but triumphant, we stood in the quiet plaza as the sun began to set, casting a warm golden glow on our victory. The next day, after the cleanup had begun and a sense of normalcy was slowly returning, I found the assassino. I was holding 2 large paper cups. "What's that?" he asked, his voice still gravelly but lacking its earlier edge. "It's a cappuccino," I said, handing one to him. "It's what heroes drink after they save the world." He took a sip, a small, genuine smile finally reaching his eyes. "Not bad, Ballerina. Not bad at all." We stood there, 2 unlikely friends, celebrating our victory, one sip at a time.